On behalf of all staff of Maharani Lakshmi Ammani College and Department of Biochemistry, I, Jayashri NS, Department of Biochemistry, welcome you all to this event of celebrating women leaders. Now, I request our principal ma'am, Dr. Shashikala, to deliver the welcome address.
A very good morning to one and all present here. To mark the Golden Jubilee celebration, MLAC organizes Women in Leadership series, where the participants will get an opportunity to listen to the journey of women achievers across different fields. This year, 2022, is very special to MLAC as we are in the Golden Jubilee year. This month, January 2022, is very special as MLAC has initiated the lecture series on women in leadership. Today is very special as we have our trustee, Dr. Geeta Narayan ma'am, the granddaughter of our founder, Dr. KNV Shastri, who started the college. To empower women through education was his vision. And for what we are here today is because of this great visionary. And we have madam with us. And we are very happy to have you, ma'am. Welcome to you, ma'am. And your leadership and accomplishment are our inspiration.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shashikala.
Thank you, ma'am.
At the very beginning, just to repeat what Dr. Shashikala said, it is a moment of great pride that Maharani Lakshmi Ammani College has now celebrating its Golden Jubilee. And I'm sure that all the hard work of the founders and including the founder director, Dr. Shanta, will be recognized over the next few weeks. May I request everybody else to put their mics on mute so that, can I have everybody, Bhumika, can you put the mic on mute? Can everybody put their mics on mute? Thank you very much. I would also like to appreciate the trustees, the chairman, Mr. Naganand, the managing trustee, Jairaj, and all the other trustees for the spirit, the hard work, and the fact that they have pushed relentlessly over 50 years to bring Maharani Lakshmi Ammani College for women up to the standard that it is. I'm also honored that I have been asked to give the inaugural talk today on women leaders or leadership for women. I'm going to divide what I'm going to say into three parts. I thought a lot about this. And I know that I'm addressing a lot of young women who are the students of the college and many others who are faculty and staff. You know, leadership is not something that you're born into. It's not a crown that people put on top of your head. Leadership is something that grows and develops, and you learn actually to become a leader. That has been my experience. I'm going to start by some stories about my family and my children, because I never thought at the age of 72, I would be considered a leader and that I would be considered a successful leader. As a young person, I was happy to be a teacher. I taught at Government Girls High School, Malleshwaram. I taught at Nirmala Rani and then at Cluny Convent. Then finally, I moved to Sophia High School, which was my alma mater, and I taught there till I got married. I taught in Vikasa in Madurai at a school which was wonderfully free and great, a great atmosphere to grow. And from there, I came to Bangalore. When I came to Bangalore, two things happened to me at the same time. By that time, I had two children. My son was Nikhil was 2.5, and my daughter was a newborn baby of only 40 days. I was told when she was born that she would not live very long because she had a hole in her heart. And at that time, this is what I'm going to say, that very often there becomes an event in your life which changes you completely. When I was told that my daughter didn't have more than a few months to live, I really did not know where I was going to go or what I was going to do, but I was fully determined that she was going to have a full life. Today, my daughter is 43 and a successful film producer in LA, Los Angeles, USA, and my son is in the UK as a lawyer. But this story is not about them. This story is about how that kind of information allows you to make choices. And at that time, I gave 1.5 years to save my daughter's life. And during that time, I ignored my son. And my son had severe learning disabilities. I went to my doctor and he said, well, if you're a teacher, what are you doing? Why are you going and teaching in another school? Why don't you just keep your children at home and teach them? And that was how the first institution I started began. It began in my house. It began in one room provided by Tara Chandavarkar, who was my friend, my mentor, and who gave me her house. We went door to door, all of us, Anne Warrior, myself, Tara Chandavarkar, asking for students. Leadership does not grow with a crown, like I said when I started. We have gone around door to door saying we are 3 women, we have no money, we are professionals, we would like to start a school. And then what really happened was the school grew from 1 room to 2 rooms to 3 rooms. And then somebody else gave us, another trustee, Valli Mutaya, gave us sheds in which we built just asbestos roof factory sheds. But in 10 years, that leadership provided us with a school that became one of Bangalore's best and most successful schools, even though we had no money still. Later on, we went on to build the campus that we have, for which it was an award-winning design. And then I was pulled up by the ICICI chairman and said, what are you doing sitting down after building one institution? Go out and start another. And here is some money to do it. And that is how I got to start Srishti, even though I didn't know anything about art, design, or technology. Now, why am I starting with a personal story and a personal history? Well, I think this lecture series is about that. It is how do women become successful and successful leaders. My story is about the fact that everything I did was an accident. My son is now a hugely successful lawyer. He really he has no problem from his initial years of learning disabilities. And so what did we prove? Anne Warrior and I proved that we didn't need to have perfect students coming to us, and then we didn't have to worry about getting them the highest marks. That was the success of that school, and that is its still hallmark of success. Where is it going when I talk about leadership? Well, first, leadership is about courage. It is about the ability to take what life throws at you, whether you're a wife, whether you're a mother, whether you are a person running an institution, whatever life throws at you, you have to be able to face it head on and not fall down and say, oh, you know, this is not right. This is not right. If only I had this, I could do it. You can do anything you want if you can face the world. And that I learned from my grandfather, the founder of Maharani Lakshmi Ammani College. He was very sure. He was a poor schoolmaster and a college teacher. He also didn't have money, but he walked every single day to the Vedant Sauda to get that property on which the college is. And he told me, you don't have to have money. You just need to work hard. So that is the second quality of where leadership is. Leadership is, again, something that comes with when you face difficulty with courage, when you don't have everything perfect, but when you work hard. But working hard alone does not make you a successful leader. In today's world, there are many different capabilities that a leader needs to build. And those capabilities are skills. They are skills that come from practice. Today, there are a lot of people who are talking about the fact that should they have leadership training institutes, should they have degrees for leadership? I'm not very sure that you can just give somebody a degree for leadership. For a brief moment now, I'm going to talk about the problems of leading the Indian cricket team. Look today at where you are with the problems of Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli against the BCCI. We took one of India's best batsmen and we said that he would be a great leader. I'm not so sure I know enough about cricket to say whether Virat Kohli is a good leader or not, but I do know enough about education. And sometimes in education, we end up taking our best teachers and turning them into leaders. I don't think that's quite the right way to go. I think leaders have to have certain skill sets. I'm going to now draw on a book by Daniel Goleman called The New Leaders, and I'm going to describe for you what he thinks a visionary leader should have. And with each one of them, you can see the importance of what he is saying, which is that leaders have to have emotional intelligence. And when I say what I mean by courage, what I mean by hard work, it's also about being a very balanced individual. So here are the leadership styles in a nutshell that Goleman puts on. 1, he says to be a visionary. 2, he says you must be able to coach. Now, coaching is different from ordering and telling, right? The 3rd is about building connections, about affiliations. So you must be a good connector. First, the vision. 2nd, coaching and mentoring, not telling or ordering. 3rd, be a connector, build bridges, build connections between people and institutions and projects. The 4th is to be democratic. Everybody today has understood the value of participative democracy, that people who are stakeholders want to talk and want to be connected. Then there is the more difficult thing about pace setting. You have to be able to order things in a way that moves on, to be able to meet challenges, to say that, look at execution. Is it being done on time? Are things moving along? Because you can't let things become stagnant. So one of the most important things that a leader has to do is set the pace. Otherwise, we get into the doldrums. We just sort of stay in one place. And the last one is to have clarity to give direction, clarity to say what is right at the right time. There are things that has to be done when it's appropriate and things that are not to be done when it's inappropriate. Right? So I'll repeat them again and I'll go over them a little bit. Having a vision is an extremely important thing. Now, having a vision is not something that can be done only in a workshop with everybody. It is that one must actually believe that the value of what is happening. For example, if we take MLAC, it is situated in Malleshwaram. The vision of my grandfather was that women would walk to the college, because in his time, women were not really very mobile because of the conservative nature of society at that time. To him, science was the height of modernity. And with modernity came empowerment, and with empowerment came economic freedom. He was a feminist. So when an institution has a leader who's got a vision, then everything that you do follows that vision. And today, when we know that we have 2,400 students who are women who are coming to MLAC, that vision has definitely been established, but it is in contemporary times, not in 1973, 72, 73, which is not now. The vision was in 1973. Today we have 2,400 students there. That needs active leadership. The vision alone is not enough. And everybody also has to know that if it is time for a new vision, then people have to start thinking about a new vision. They can't just stick with the old vision. Then there is this thing about how you coach people. How do you connect people with the goals of the organization? How do you tell them how things are done? What is the culture of MLAC? What are the values of MLAC? How do we work? That is what coaching is about. It is not just a documented sheet of policies. It won't happen if you've got a constitution, but it means that you have to walk the talk. You have to say, look, this is what we mean. This is how we do it. This is how we work in this organization. And that comes with a lot of gentle coaching and mentoring of all the teams, and also include sharing the vision and the goals and the values with families who come, new parents, students. Then what happens is, how do you connect people? And that has been one of my greatest strengths, I have to tell you. One of my greatest strengths has been the ability to build connections when nobody else thought there was a connection. When people would walk into my office and say, I ran a college of art and design, and they would say that I am a historian, I wouldn't show them the door after talking to them and saying, you know, history has no place in a school of art and design, a college of art and design. I would say, hi, what do you want to do with history? How do you think you could build a center for public history here? So this ability to match vision with enterprise and take some risks and make connections is a very important part of leadership. And that means that you have to keep your mind open all the time. You have to be well read. You have to read. You have to find what's happening. You have to meet people and make connections. It's not going to happen sitting down inside the office, that's for sure. What happens? Okay, so you are a visionary and you're good at coaching and you're good at creating affiliations and building bridges. What happens when you finish doing all that? Well, you still have an institution to run as a leader, and you have students, you have staff, you have teachers, you have boards, you have lots of people to whom you become accountable and responsible to. And that can only be done through a commitment to democratic participation. And democratic participation does not mean I want this and I don't want that. It needs three things. It needs an open mind that opens up possibilities. It needs open will that has the determination to get somewhere. And it needs an open heart that fills the place with a kind of emotional empathy and love and care that brings people together and takes people forward. That brings me to the next point, which is pace setting. We can't all be stagnant in one place. We have to keep moving on. And sometimes it's, you have to go at 70 miles per hour, and sometimes you have to go at 40 miles per hour. But you still have to keep the pace going so that things are not stagnant. And I would also add here that stagnant is a very dangerous, where everything is stable and going very well, then I'm afraid as a leader, I'm disruptive. I go in there and say, what can we change? And so the pace suddenly changes because suddenly everybody says, well, it's not that you were doing anything wrong, but doing the same thing again and again leads you to Newton's second law, which says that things which are in a state of inertia, equilibrium, will go into a state of inertia and into entropy. And so we can't keep things the same. So pace setting also means changing the pace, being disruptive, sometimes being seen as being difficult. It very often happens to me. it very often happens to me, particularly when I've had a period to be reflective. I would have gone on the plane, I would have sat down, I'd have met some people and come back. And I know people in my college say, now what is she going to say? And I do say it. It may be seen as suddenly being something that is very different from what is happening. But then there is an excitement and there's energy and people start talking about it. And then they make their own small changes in their own way. But we have to provide that excitement. We have to provide that change. We have to bring that disruption. Of course, at the end, we have to be clear. We have to have absolute clarity in how we write, how we give directions, in what we say, because people can misunderstand us. And we also have to be able to say that we can have the courage in the time of a turnaround, which is like the story of my daughter, is that you pick up the courage to fight, and you fight to create a turnaround. And that is what I think is the last and most important style of or quality of a good leader. Now, each one of those has been part of my life. I was never somebody who was given something in hand and said, now run this, right? I never had a job. I had a child who needed a good education. I had to find people who would support me and a place where I could start teaching him. From there, we had to find the sheds and find money and find laws and find out that there was land being given in Yelahanka, learn how to write a proposal, learn how to write a project report, learn how to do cash flows, learn how to manage loans, learn how to deal with people. So it's a continuous process of learning and a continuous process of change. I don't think that in my life I've ever thought of myself as successful. Every time I find myself in another battleground and taking on the next challenge. The pandemic has been one. We never thought that college or schools will not run for over 2 years. But we have managed. We have been innovative, we have been structured, we have been caring. MLAC has done a great job in this. And we go forward. But we also know as we go forward that there has been huge problems at home, particularly to women. That women work from home has not been easy. For women, the girls who are at home may not have had such an easy job. We live in a society which has a large amount of patriarchy attached to it. We live in a society where misogyny is part of what we think and accept almost as okay. So women leaders have to put up with that as well. Women leaders have to learn that they actually have to have the leadership in their home as well as the leadership in their workplace. And when the two are there together, which I was very fortunate to have, one can actually do a great job. Many women who are listening to me and many of the girls who are listening to me might say, well, I wish I could do it, but nobody is going to let me. Don't let that stop you. Nobody can stop you. You can go ahead and do it. And remember what I told you, that it is about having a vision for yourself, knowing that you will be able to bring people together through coaching and mentoring, that you'll find bridges and connections and affiliations, that you will work in building participatory cultures, that you will set the pace and the energy and the force to get things done, and that you will have clarity and courage to be able to take the world on. There is nothing a woman cannot do. They told me my daughter would not live for more than 4 months. There was nothing that they said I could do. I kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and she is okay today. They told me my son had learning disabilities and they called him all kinds of names in a small school here in Bangalore. I started a school in my house, and today he's a very successful lawyer in the United Kingdom at the top of his career. Nothing is impossible. Everything is possible, but it takes a lot of courage, clarity, and vision to get there. To all the women who are listening to me, I send you that message. You can do anything you want. Don't expect a crown to be put on your head or a label to say that you are so and so and therefore you are a leader. Don't expect that the leadership will come with trappings. It doesn't. It is just hard work. But when you are a successful leader, you feel a great sense of joy at what you build. And when you are 72, I have really the blessing of looking back over 50 years of my work, because I entered the workforce as a teacher in the year 1972. That was the year Maharani Lakshmi Ammani was founded. So I have worked for 50 years. It is also that record for me. And if I have achieved anything, it is because I have walked side by side with great women who have helped me, mentored me, shaped me. And I owe it to acknowledge that Anne Warrior and Tara Chandawalkar were two such women who did it, as did my grandfather, my parents, my family, my children too, who put up with my relentless ambition to get the job done. I thank them, I applaud them, and the women who were teachers and the men too who have walked by my side. But to all of you, take it up and remember that you can be a leader too, and success is what you want, not what other people say they want. Be successful by your own terms. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, ma'am. You truly inspired all of us through your words. If, with your permission, if I can, we'll take some of the discussions. If any of the students want to discuss and interact with madam, you can unmute. The session is now open.
Thank you.
Anybody who wants to interact with madam can unmute and speak.
Or you can put the question in the chat box if you want, and I can answer.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning, Shasta.
Truly, it was very inspiring session, ma'am. Like whenever we feel down, like what's going on, what will happen, there's a big question mark when we'll be in UG.
Yeah.
And I was literally confused. Like yesterday night also, I was like, what should be done? After hearing to you all, it was like much inspiring. And I just want to thank you, ma'am. And thank you all the faculties for arranging this session.
Thank you, Shasta.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hello. Yes, Nikita.
Yes, first of all, good afternoon, ma'am, and thank you so much for this wonderful speech.
Thank
So,
you.
ma'am, what I wanted to ask you is many a times we feel like going somewhere and doing something, I mean, out of country sometimes or out of our own state at least, somewhere away from parents, not because we are feeling too damn conjuncted over here, but we just know that if we go out and if we are alone, we can work better. But we are not allowed. As you said, there are many constrictions to women in our society. So what would you say upon this?
Yeah, you know, Nikita, there are always constraints with women on about going out, about leaving the home, about, in fact, that was one of the reasons why MLAC was put in Malleshwaram, so that women could walk there and walk back, you know, and not come to through big distances. But I do think that it is possible for you to start making small changes. Don't ask for the big change, because the big change, Nikita, nobody will let you do. Okay. but the small changes will make a difference in your life. It will make a difference in your life. Start by asking for small things that where you can have freedom of choice. And from there, you can expand that space slowly so that it becomes bigger and bigger. Because that I can't tell you just fight with your parents and leave. That's not the right answer. So the answer is to just, it's like this, right now, and you have to grow it bigger and bigger and bigger until it's like that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really idea was really inspiring for me.
Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, Lavanya.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and thank you for the session, ma'am. It was inspiring, and I have learned many more things, ma'am. Ma'am, first, I have a question, ma'am. Ma'am, sometimes in our life, we will set a goal for us and we will keep on working for it. But in some situations or due to some other reasons, we will set the goal or we will not just work on it. We will stop working on it. No, we can't reach the goal. We will think like that, ma'am. Can you guide us on the
Okay,
guide us?
on that, Lavanya, I have an answer. Okay, and it comes from Buddhist philosophy and from the words of many Buddhist scholars and leaders. There is a book that is written called Things Fall Apart. Okay, and one of the messages that is given in that book by the Buddhist scholars is that you can't always achieve your goal, right? You can't always have people agree with you. Conflict is part of life. But the only thing, Lavanya, in our control is to change our perception about it. So if we change, say we've not achieved the goal, is one perception. But if we say, well, maybe that was not the right goal and I have to look for a new goal, and you look for a door which is just to open a crack, maybe if you open that door, there's a bigger vision behind there. So the Buddhist monks and philosophers tell you, don't fall apart when things don't work, right? Always think and change the way you look at it. When you change how you look at it and say, this is not a problem and I'm not met my goal, but you change the vision, you change the direction, you change the way you're thinking about something, you feel much better. And then you start feeling successful again. If
Yes,
necessary, find that book, Things Fall Apart. It's a great book to read.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, there is a question from Trisha Reddy K, who says, how to be emotionally stable?
Well, emotional stability for women is a little bit like walking a tightrope in a circus, right? Because we cannot predict that everything is going to be the same. But I've often told people, emotional stability comes from not feeling that being in charge of yourself and not feeling that the world is in charge of you. Right? The minute you feel that the world is in charge of you, then you feel you have to please other people to feel successful. Don't worry about what success is to somebody else. I'll tell you what happened to me. My father actually wanted me to go and study in America because I was a very good student of mathematics and I did my honors in mathematics. And he wanted me to be an operations research person in the US because he was a computer man. And he was very annoyed that I decided to walk to MES Teachers College in Malleshwaram and put in my application for a B.Ed. And for many years, he said, I don't know why you are doing this. You could have been doing this. You could have been somewhere, you could think. But when he died at the age of 94, he held my hand and he said, you knew who you were when you went and put in that B.Ed application form. And all that you have done in your life has been because of that decision. I'm very proud of you. But I had to wait for him to be 92 years to say that to me. But I had to have the courage at the age of 20, 21 to go and put in that application to do an MES Teachers College, a B.Ed instead of going to America. So you can do that, do it. And you will get the emotional stability from making sure you take charge of your own decisions. Don't beat to somebody else's drum.
Thank you, ma'am. We have one more question from Javeria Masur Ahmad, who says, what at the initial stage should be 3 things that being a women leader should look at and keep in mind?
I think that one of the things that as a woman leader is not to be conscious that you are a woman, right? Because the minute you are self-conscious and you say that you are a woman, you're not treating yourself with the equality that you deserve. So don't tell everybody that, okay, I'm going to be a woman leader. You be a leader. There should not be any difference between a male and a female leader. And it should start with our own perception that we're not going into this as women. We're going into this because we have a job to do, a vision, a goal we want to accomplish, and that's what we're going to do. I think the second one is really about clarity. Are we just going into leadership? I never went into leadership, right? I went into solving problems for my life. So clarity is about not wanting a position or not wanting a title, because those are things that actually destroy your ability to be a leader. Because a leader is somebody who's like a street fighter, has to really work on the floor. And think of Mahatma Gandhi when you say, think of that. But Mahatma Gandhi never thought of himself in either a male or female terms. He did not want position or prime ministership or president. He just wanted to walk and do something for the people. Once you're walking the talk and you have clarity on why you're doing it, that's very important, you know. And the third is to enjoy it. You know, don't do anything that doesn't give you a feeling of lightheartedness and fun and passion. Don't do something where it weighs you down, because then that's not the right thing for you.
Thank you, ma'am. We have one more question from Ahana B, who asks, how to make priorities between career and family and how to maintain balance between them?
You know, that's not a very good question to ask me, because I have found that work-life balance has been a very difficult thing to achieve. And I've really only achieved it with the huge support of my husband and my family and my children. Because once you enter into a space where you are working for something, for a goal that is fairly difficult to achieve, it is difficult to find that balance. However, in today's world, it is more possible because there are many ways in which life has become simpler. In many ways, of course, life has become more complicated. But I would say striving for a work-life balance is a good thing. And I would say I'm not a good example of that.
Lakshmi Soumya asks for some of the books which you can suggest, which will encourage us to lead towards the goal.
Well, I think that one of the books is by a lady called Margaret Wheatley. It's called Leadership and the New Science. And the next one is the one I was quoting, called The New Leaders. And also there is The Art of Man Making, which is really very good.
For some of the books,
I'll send a note and you can circulate the list, because I'll have to look up some of the names of the books.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll do that.
So if I can take one more question, please, then.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, Shaista.
Ma'am, sometimes it happens when being a leader, we can't get like connected with all the people. Like, for example, being a leader of the whole class, that time it will be like few conflicts will be arising between the same. They feel like we are acting like bossy, though we don't.
Shaista, you brought a very important point. A leader is not a boss.
Boss, yeah, actually.
A leader is not a prefect, right? Those are like policemen. You don't call policemen leaders. A leader's job is not to police. A leader has to be somebody who inspires. The minute somebody says, I'm your boss, I'm your prefect, I'm the person telling you what to do, get inside the room, sit down, those are all work for policemen. They're the ones who are controlling the traffic. They're the ones who are keeping the roads in order. They're the ones who are checking the register, whether we have got our driving licenses or paying our road tax. A leader is not a policeman. It is not the job of a leader to actually think. That is the job. So if you are being given the job to get your students into the class and get everything, at that point, you have to understand you are doing a job, a responsibility you've been given. Leadership is something else.
Yes, ma'am. Can we stay up, like, how can we stay up motivated to them? Like, it's not like that. We can't convince all the people in the class. So how can we stay up motivated with them, like be connected to them and be much careful about that and all?
I think that you will have to ask them that, isn't it? I think they have the answers.
Yes, ma'am. Even they can say up to that.
Yeah, you ask them, what is it you want from me? And then they'll tell you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
If you have time, the last question,
Uh.
where Jyotika asks, how to handle the physical and mental insecurities?
You know, that's what I mean by courage. There'll always be insecurities, right? There'll always be things that you can't control. So one has to let go of this feeling that as a leader, you are in control of everything. You're not in control of anything. I don't think we are even in control of knowing how this year ends. So remember that insecurity is comes from wanting to control. If you give up control, you're fine. I'm sorry, I can't talk. Just give me a minute. Yeah, go ahead. I'll take one more question. My throat is going. Yeah, Pavitra?
Yes, ma'am.
Pavitra? There's one in the chat box.
Yes, ma'am. There's one in the chat box where Arushi asks, sometimes as a leader, we tend to feel overwhelmed because we have a lot on our plate already, or the situation just demands much more. How should one go about when faced with such situations?
Okay, one is about clarity, about being able to say, and one is about pace setting. One thing is that there's an author called Stephen Covey, and he has written a book which inspired me a lot, which I think is called First Things First. And there's another one which is called Principle-Centered Leadership. I'm going to quote from the second. What he's saying is, all of us have areas of concern and all of us have areas of influence. Our concerns are big circles and our influence are small circles. He says that if as a leader, you can keep your concerns and your influence in the same size, you won't have that problem, right? But if you have your concerns are not about what you can do anything about, then you should let it go. Because if you have no influence, over something, then don't bother about it. Let things happen and you withdraw from it. It's a very important book. It's called Principle Centered Leadership. It's by Stephen Covey. And I would recommend that people buy a copy and look at it. Okay. May I
Thank you,
now,
ma'am.
because I'm losing my voice.
I thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I'm sure today your words has made a difference in all our lives.
I hope so, just a little bit. Yeah.
Definitely, ma'am. Now I request all the girls to fill in the feedback form, which is already posted in the chat box. You can access the form and fill it. And I also request all the participants to turn on the video for a small photo session.
You come in the center. Nakshatra.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Shashikala.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for inspiring us. And thanks to technology, we are all together.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am.
Thanks to Department of Biochemistry for coordinating the entire event. Thank you so much. It came out very well.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Jayashree, how many in the
Yes, ma'am.
YouTube?
Ma'am, I was handling the Zoom platform. I could not check out how many were in
Okay,
YouTube.
okay, I think
Usha
I should-
parallelly is handling the YouTube, ma'am.
No
In
problem.
YouTube,
Ask
there
all
were
of them
around
to do the feedback, ma.
735 around 12:10, ma'am.
Later it was some 740, 746 at one point here. Okay.
Yes,
Around 850 maybe.
yes, ma'am.
I think the
Thank you,
girls are
ma'am,
happy.
for giving the opportunity for
Yeah,
our department
it's
to
a very
host
good
it.
start from biochemistry. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Really, I think the kickstart was really good because the number of participants, no, first time we have got so many, and I think all our girls asked nice questions.
Ma'am, it was worth, ma'am. All
It was-
those participation was really worth.
Worth and so simple, ma'am could tell, and like we can
Yes, ma'am.
get inspired.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you, Kamla. Thanks to the entire department. We were thinking we will introduce ma'am. That is why I didn't write any this one, no, to introduce.
Ma'am, actually, we had prepared, ma'am. Vani was waiting actually, but she just started and she could not, I think she was in a hurry. So she just started
And
and I
madam
did
started
not
off
want to
straight.
interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, I felt
It
bad
may not
because-
look good to interrupt in between, no, ma'am. So I just kept
because
quiet.
ma'am, I think is having a following meeting. But
Huh.
because we had already scheduled, no, she said, no, I don't want to.
We
Right.
were actually prepared with a brief introduction of hers, ma'am, but we could not do it because of that.
Yeah, she only introduced her. Nice.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, girls. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Opportunity.